Welcome everyone to show 10 of the 24-hour global commute. Over this 24 hours, we are visiting every time zone on the planet, and we have some amazing guests lined up, and we've already had some incredible guests on the first 9 shows. I'm Kate Holmes, host of the Innovating Advice podcast, and I am joined on this show by my co-host, Tom Parkinson. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world and watching us from, I suppose. How are you doing? This is show number something ridiculous for you already, Kate. So you're holding up well and looking just as fresh as you did on the first one.
Oh, well, thanks, Tom. Even though it was not even bright and early, it was dark and early here, but very happy to be here. But I don't know that I have quite the love of Mondays that you do. Can you give us a quick peek into that philosophy?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, that one. I always feel fresh on a Monday, and I always do the jobs that you don't want to do on a Monday. Because if you get it done on a Monday, you've got the rest of the week to do the things that you do want to do. You've got the exciting bit left over. So any quick wins you've got, never do them on a Monday, because then everything else seems to drag and you feel fresh. And honestly, start the week like that, changes your life, feel a bit rested over the weekend. Start your week on a positive note, and you'll never not like Mondays. I guarantee Monday at 5 o'clock comes around so much quicker than Friday at 5 o'clock when you actually think about it.
That is very true. I love that. That's fantastic. Thanks, Tom.
There you go.
So along the way throughout the 24-hour global commute, we will be raising money for various organizations around the world. In the US, we are looking to raise money for Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors, and Color of Change, both to support the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. And the team in the UK is raising money for 2 great charities, CF Warriors, helping kids overcome cystic fibrosis, and the Stroke Association. And we also encourage listeners all over the world to donate to any charity of your choice and shoot us a message, let us know. We're tallying those up so that we can really show the power of bringing the global financial planning community together and what we can do. So we're going to have more about all that later on in the show. But Tom, what do we have coming up in this show?
On this show, we have an interview with Carolyn McClanahan, a CFP and physician who specializes in the intersection between financial planning and health. And Phil Bray is back with another marketing focus. But first, we have the news with Citywire RIA. And on this show, it's brought to us by Ian Wennick. I think I've pronounced that right. Good morning or afternoon, Ian. How are you?
Good afternoon, Tom. And yes, you did pronounce my name correctly. Not many people get it on the first try, so point to you.
Get
so
in there.
In the US, we're seeing green lights on the market today. The Dow is up around 0.4 of a point. The S&P up around 0.5 point. The NASDAQ up around 0.8 of a point. And over in Europe, the FTSE 100 closed around 0.75 of a point down. So what I'm here to talk about today is over in New York, we are kind of taking baby steps towards reopening the economy. And today marks the beginning of phase 2. So what does phase 2 mean? So it means that if you're in an office, you can go back to work. If you're a restaurant, you can open yourself up for outdoor dining. If you run a retail shop like a greeting card store or a clothing retailer, you can open your business back up and you can go beyond just curbside pickup. So, New York is the center of the nation's economy, and this is a pretty big step. But the issue is that not everybody is as enthusiastic about taking the step into reopening. So you've seen this over in the West Coast with a lot of the tech companies like Google and Facebook expecting to have their employees work from home till 2021. We're starting to see that a little bit in New York today as well. So the New York Times most notably said most of their employees, other than a couple of essential staffers, they're expecting them to work from home until January of 2021 at the earliest. So it seems like there's a bit of a first mover issue as companies kind of hesitate to let their employees back in the building. I think the biggest indicator so far of just how slow New York's kind of spring back to life it's been is in the subway ridership data. So city officials said over the weekend that they expect the average number of riders on the subway on a weekday to cross 1 million riders this week. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, the issue is that in 2019, the average weekday ridership on the subway was around 5.5 million people. So we're looking at a city that right now, in a best case scenario, is going to creep up towards just roughly 20% of its basic economic activity, getting people to and from work, to the store. to school. Well, school's kind of out of session right now, but it's kind of clear from the underlying data that it's going to take a little bit of time for New York to recover and fully reopen. But we'll see how it goes. And obviously the fact that the city's even entering phase 2 at all, a little bit ahead of schedule, is a sign that maybe things are starting to calm down. Back to you guys, Tom and Kate.
Thanks, Ian. And it's interesting to see how it's evolving in different places around the country. I'm certain Carolyn has some thoughts on all this. Being here in Las Vegas, it's been super interesting. The casinos are reopening, and I admit curiosity got the best of me. So my husband and I did go down to the Strip on Sunday to take a peek, and good to see you're required to wear a mask if you're at any of the table games. There were lots of people wearing masks, but the casinos in Arizona ended up getting shut down again. So we'll see if that happens and that becomes a trend. So appreciate the news there, Ian, and keeping us up to date on that. And next we've got Chris Budd, who is the host of the Financial Wellbeing podcast and founder of the Initiative for Financial Wellbeing. And he has been changing his shirt for every show. So Chris, what do you have for us in the Financial Wellbeing thought and in the attire for this show?
Well, I thought I'd end the American section big, Kate. So this is the best shirt I think I possibly own.
I love it.
I used to play.
Yes.
I played guitar in a band for many years, and this was what we used to wear. We each had a different colour of this shirt, so it did have a work purpose, you might argue. So, financial wellbeing. The Initiative for Financial Wellbeing is a new institute. We set it up earlier this year, and it's all about helping financial advisors and planners to help their clients to be happier as well as wealthier. Because what is the point of financial planning if it's not going to make your client happier? So I'd like to introduce today a little invention of my own, it's a bit light-hearted really, but it does get a point across, called retreasuring. Okay, now that's not a word, I made that up. I should probably copyright it somehow, but the idea of retreasuring is that there is a principle which I think is probably quite well known. I'd never heard of it when I first read it 5 years ago, but I think it's probably well known now that if you spend money on stuff, on buying stuff, then that gives you a relatively short period of well-being. Whereas if you spend that same money on experiences, that gives memories and that gives much longer lasting well-being. So you're much better using your money on experiences than you are on buying stuff. But it came to me that if you buy stuff and it gives you a short burst of well-being, then why not sell it and then buy it again? And if you keep going around this process, then you can keep giving yourself these little short hits of well-being. I'm not sure if that actually works in practice, but it's just a little light-hearted one that gets across the point of we should spend money on experiences much more than stuff.
Yeah, Chris, I couldn't agree more. People used to tease me that I was like a Scrooge or something. I haven't given presents for any holiday to anyone in over a decade because I'm all about experiences and, you know, finding things to do that don't necessarily tie directly to a date on a calendar. You know, if it makes sense for Carolyn and I to go have a fun afternoon because we're together in a city, let's go do that rather than wait and buy something that, you know, might sit on the shelf. So fantastic.
I've got a double whammy for that, which really works well. In fact, this could be a tight ass Tomo tip when Tom Morris comes back on, because I bought a whole lot of tickets for different events, including going to see a test match with the cricket with my daughter and her boyfriend. And so I spent all this money on lots and lots of tickets. And of course, I don't have to do any of them. I can get all my money back because it's all been cancelled because of the pandemic. Hey.
There's always a silver lining. That's fantastic. Love it, Chris. Thanks for gracing us with that fabulous shirt as well. So we're going to cross over to Tom, who is chatting with our main guest for this show. Tom?
Thanks, Kate. That's definitely, you're off my Christmas list then, from how it sounds. Anyway, moving on. I'm really excited to be interviewing MD, CFP, and Director of Financial Planning at Life Planning Partners in Jacksonville, Florida, Carolyn McClanahan. Hello, Carolyn. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun just watching you guys.
It's been a fantastic thing to be a part of. So let's kick it off with a question, I suppose, as we always do. Before we delve into your work, though, Carolyn, please tell us a bit more about how you got to where you are today and your career history.
No, it's very interesting. I started out as a physician, and my husband was an aerospace engineer. He hated engineering, and he wanted to change careers. He had inherited a little bit of money and we tried to find a financial planner to help us determine whether he could change careers. And they were all basically salespeople. They didn't do real financial planning. And I went back to school for fun to learn about real financial planning. I fell in love with it, and I opened up my own firm in 2004. I did not give up I loved patient care though, so I didn't give up my medical license. I still actually practice, I volunteer. And so I keep my feet in both worlds, and that allows me to talk about, all the intersections of health and finance, of which there are very many.
Fantastic. It just sounds amazing, really. And obviously you're in an incredible position of being both a physician and a financial planner. Talk to us about how they intertwine together and how you utilize the skills perhaps from one into the other.
Well, it's interesting to me because being a doctor is pretty much being the same as a financial planner, except that you're taking care of people's health instead of their money. So same thing, you start off with doing a medical history. So in medicine, and in finance, you do a financial history. Why are you here? How am I helping you? And then you do an exam, so a physical exam in medicine, but in finance, you go through everybody's, all their assets, what they're doing, how they spend money. And then you come up with what's your assessment of the situation. So in medicine, it's the diagnosis. In finance, it's talking about, well, here's what you're doing and here's where you are because of it. And then you create a plan. So in medicine, how do you treat the patient? In finance, it's basically how you are going to help them with their situation. And the big skill set between the two, though, that is to me so invaluable is really good communication skills and learning to talk to people about the tough things, the things that having hard conversations around things about money and health.
Fantastic. Absolutely so true, really. You have a keynote about financial planning at the end of life, which I thought thought would be really important to discuss. There are many young and aspiring planners listening to this who haven't experienced the unfortunate nature of a client passing away. How can financial planners improve their process around this area to help familiarize themselves without obviously going through it?
Right. Well, yeah, you don't want to go through it yourself. That means you're no longer here. And so, the problem is that health and finance intertwine in so many different ways throughout life. And one place where advisors have the hardest time is one, when people are getting old, and two, if they find out a client is dying. And people don't realize that the number one worry that most people have, at least in the United States, I don't know about the rest of the world, isn't so much about dying, and it is about the pain before they die, but it's also about finances. And so they worry, is their family going to have enough money? Are they going to desk their family in getting the care they need? And if you can talk comfortably about how to deal with a serious diagnosis, you can save that family so much angst and anxiety and money. In the United States, there are a lot of tax planning opportunities around end of life. I know that sounds hard, but it's important. You're making certain their estate plan is up to snuff so that they don't end up spending a lot of money on the back end trying to fix things that should have been done. Helping people understand their insurance and how to utilize their insurance. So by learning how to comfortably speak with people who are in that serious situation of an end-of-life diagnosis and helping them clean up all the stuff that needs to be done before they die, it's just an invaluable skill to have. And you will have their family, well, that client obviously is dying, but the family will appreciate you for life, and you'll have a client for life.
Absolutely so true. I spend so long speaking to my clients about how inheritance tax is really the biggest optional tax that there is out there if you're willing to do some work out there and just do the preparation. And as you say, just that peace of mind it offers is fantastic. What do you consider to be the most important skill that a financial planner requires?
Oh, by and far, good communication skills, knowing how to talk about hard situations. And a lot of financial planners are very much into just the numbers, and they're not really trained in good communication skills. And there's a great book I recommend, and I don't know the woman, but I've been recommending her book forever. It's Susan Scott's fierce conversations, and it teaches you how to have those deep, hard conversations. So like when you have to tell a client they're going to run out of money if they don't change their behavior, or helping them deal with serious life situations, that book and that training is invaluable to help you do that.
Absolutely fantastic. And where do you see the future of financial planning going? Obviously, where it is today versus where do you see the direction of it heading over, say, the next 5, 10, and maybe even further into the future?
You know, it's very interesting. Medicine is, as a profession, is about 120 years old. Before that, it was just basically snake oil salesmen, and there really was no real profession. It took about 70 years to create a profession. And so I like to liken that to financial planning, in that we are so early in financial planning being a real career. There are a lot of people that have given investment advice, and I think we have seen through the years that investment advice is really becoming commoditized. It's not, that's how people used to think of financial planners, just as investment professionals, and that's no longer true. And I think with the of investment advice, we're going to see more and more people looking for financial planners who are what I call real problem solvers, financial problem solvers. And that we're going to end up helping people fight the big companies, because, you know, you get voicemail hell, and, you know, how do you deal with when you have a problem with a client? And so we're going to help our clients dealing with big situations and solving their financial problems so that they have peace of mind around their finances.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you speak about the profession being in its infancy, and I'm just wondering, obviously, how you see it us sort of pushing the profession forward, really. Is there anything that we can do that we're not already doing as professionals to be promoting the work that we do? And as you say, moving away from that view of sort of just investment advisors towards that professional view that we're really striving towards, and we all know that we are, but sometimes the clients and prospect clients don't really understand. How do you think we can go about that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we need to quit giving mixed messages. And at least in the United States, the majority of advisors are still paid by assets under management or by sales and commissions. And so, for example, in our firm, we charge a flat fee for advice, and we do all the investments for that advice, but we do so much more. We do all the estate, tax planning, insurance planning, healthcare planning. We do cash flow planning, budgeting. And so when you charge, the way you charge is congruent with the service you deliver. That's going to be what moves us forward, at least in the United States. And I think that we need to tout more all the other things that we do, instead of just making the conversations around investment management. And that'll get us a long way. The other thing I think that needs to happen is, at least in the United States, you know, people graduate from college now with a financial planning degree, which is huge leaps and bounds above where we were in the past, but they don't really have a good career path, a good training path to bring them to in the next level. In the United States, you graduate from medical school, you have to do 3 to 7 years of a residency before you're actually really a doctor. And so depending on the profession that skill that you're going to go into. And I think that we need residency programs in financial planning to help bring young planners up to the next level.
Excellent. And I'm going to ask you one final question, if I may, which is, do you think that your clients see the value that you offer by charging them the way that you charge them in comparison to the assets under management, sort of the fee, the typical version? Do you think that clients add value to that?
Oh, absolutely. That's the reason most clients sought us out, is they had learned. We have been charging based on flat fees for, just a couple years after I started, since 2007. And then our waiting list was a year long. So I guess that tells you something as far as, you know, people got what we did, especially clients who had more assets, and they realized that they would just be paying more because they have more money, and they're subsidizing people who have less money, and they're getting pretty much the same service. So it's been a great boon in my practice, actually. And I think the nice thing about it is that more and more people are catching on. With like big market downturns, financial advisors have a reduction in their income. And for us, it always stays, we always know what our cash flows are going to be. I never understood why advisors put the risk of their practice onto the stock market. Just never made sense to me.
Fantastic. What an absolute privilege it's been to have you, Carolyn. So thank you very much for your time and your wonderful insights. Kate, what do we have next?
Thanks, Tom, and thanks, Carolyn. And if I can sneak in one bonus question, Carolyn, just given everything that's going on and with the world starting to reopen, and I'm hearing from some financial planners that are saying, hey, clients are eager to get back to in-person meetings, and they're wondering, should we try to accommodate this or do we not due to COVID-19? What would you suggest?
Well, I'm currently in the epicenter of the coronavirus, the new wave. I still think it's continuation of the first wave. I'm in Florida, and my state has been very stupid in how they handled coronavirus. And I really think that at least until we have great testing that's consistent and that everybody can get tested when they need testing, and ideally a vaccine, I think that people should still continue to work remotely as much as possible. And if it is not possible, then make sure you're doing good precautions like wearing masks and physical distancing. And that's about all you can do right now. It's very interesting you asked, Kate, because my background, original training was in virology and immunology, and I did a bunch of tweets back in 2013 about coronavirus is going to be the next black swan. And I was totally right, except that, the problem is you can never tell exactly when that's going to happen. So I was 7 years too early, but there are 1,000 viruses out there that can cause trouble. And the world just needs to learn how to be prepared instead of being reactive after the fact. Long answer to your question, but you touched a button there.
Yeah, and I knew I did, Carolyn, which is why I had to ask. And for all of you on Twitter, I strongly recommend you follow Carolyn. She's chatting about a lot of great stuff. She's got a great sense of humor, shares just a lot of good information, both on financial planning and the health side, and about racial and gender diversity, equity, and inclusion. So a great person to follow, very inspiring. Carolyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy, and I love the charity you guys picked to raise money for. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. So now we're going to pop over to Phil Bray with another marketing focus. So Phil, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. And coming to you live from Nottingham today, Robin Hood country, just up the road from Chris, a bit further than up the road, but at least in the same country. What I want to talk to you about today is the power of content and the importance of content in your marketing. And it was Bill Gates who said way back in the mid-90s that content is king. And I'm not going to argue with Bill Gates. And I believe that you can't market your business effectively without producing great content. It demonstrates your expertise, it adds value. And of course, any successful content marketing strategy really needs two things. You need to create the content and then you need to distribute it. But creating content is hard. Writing blogs can be hard, writing guides can be hard, producing infographics and podcasts, webinars, and this sort of stuff is hard work, as I'm sure Adam and everybody on this will attest to today. So what I wanted to do was just give a few quick fire practical tips from somebody who produces a lot of content but has never been trained in it. So I wanted to talk about some of the practical things that I know work for us and hopefully will work for other people as well. And the first of those is to know your audience and know your medium as well. And I don't think you can produce content without having a detailed knowledge of your audience. And this is very different to knowing your client from a financial planning perspective. We need to know what people's worries and concerns are, what gets them up in the morning, what keeps them awake at night. So we can start producing content which addresses those things. And from the medium perspective, we all know that we read differently online to we do the printed word. So really important that we're creating we're creating content in the right way for the right medium. So online, shorter sentences, short paragraphs, lots of bullet points, lots of subheadings, etc. When you're writing for printed matter, you can maybe a little bit longer. But writing itself is not necessarily easy. So when I'm writing a blog or a guide, I'll create the structure first, series of subheadings, series of key points. I'll then flesh it out from there. And everyone's got a different writing style. Chris is in his shed right now, or his cabin, and he will write in a different way to me. But for me, it's getting those subheadings in place, those key points, then flesh out in each of those individual key points. And at that stage, all I'm trying to do is simply get words and ideas on a piece of paper. I'll then read and edit, and keep going with that cycle until you've got it exactly, well, until you've got it broadly how you want it to be. But to get it exactly how you want it to be, I think you've got to print it out. I don't think you can edit on a screen. It's really difficult to edit on a screen. So I know printing is an old hat, and I printed something out today and trying to get the office printer to work when I'm the only one in here is not easy. But print it out and edit on a paper copy. You'll see things on paper that you don't see on a screen. Next thing, separate writing from research. They're two different disciplines. So I'll often get my subheadings together, and then I'll go and do research that I need to do. Then I'll come back and write. What I don't want to do is I'm in the flow of writing and then break off and have to do some research. So just understand that writing and research are two different things. But if you're going to write, you need ideas in the first place. And the thing I think that stops most people from writing is what to write about. They hit a barrier there and don't know what to write about. So for us, the key thing is to create an ideas bank. Keep a notebook with you at all times. And obviously, instead of a notebook, we've all got phones in our pockets these days. So that when inspiration strikes, which is at the strangest time for me, in the shower, in the car, out for a pint with a mate, those were the days, you've got to write these things down. You've got to take every opportunity. So often in the car, hands-free, I will call myself, listen to my voicemail message and leave myself a message, start dictating a blog. But if you can create that ideas bank, you're never going to be short of things to write about. And in terms of places to find inspiration, I think financial planners can find inspiration from their client meetings, their client experiences. The financial news can be an inspiration, but don't report the news. No one's going to come to your website to review the news. They're going to go to the BBC, the New York Times, wherever. But explain what it means to the reader, how it will affect them. So go that bit further and tap into their worries, their concerns about the news. The comments, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the UK, under personal finance articles, you've always got the comments section. And I'm sure Tom, Chris and Gretchen will agree, it's a rich source of myths and misconceptions about money. So if you're struggling, go and copy a few of those and then try and debunk those myths. Always a good source. And then for me, it's really important that I found the right time and place to write. The least constructive time is when you've got a deadline coming, you've got a to-do list as long as your arm, and you know you've got to put 1,000 words on a sheet of paper and make them engaging. So for me, find the right time and the place to write, wherever that is. I know, Chris, you have a writing day on a Wednesday in your cabin, normally interrupted by me making a call to you. But just try and find when's right for you. For me, it's a coffee shop on a Saturday morning. 8 o'clock, well, I was. 8 o'clock, same coffee shop every Saturday morning. And I just like sitting in the buzz of a coffee shop and writing. But that's not going to be right for everybody. Last two, when you want to roll, don't stop. Just because you've written one article and you want to roll, keep going. Because you'll thank yourself for it when writer's block hits and you've got a few in the bank. And lastly, get a good proofreader. the most important people on your team is your proofreader. They're just essential. Typos in blogs destroy confidence in the reader. And bearing in mind the reader could be putting their trust and faith in you as their financial planner. So avoid typos, get a good proofreader. That's a different person to the person who edits your blogs. So you can need a writer, an editor, and a proofreader, but they are so important. They're worth their weight in gold. So hopefully that's given you a few quick fire hints and tips to producing better content.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. And so good to hear you say to get a proofreader. I am continually shocked at how many reputable news sources and websites are out there that have misspellings and punctual errors and typos, and it just drives me crazy. And I just keep wanting to call them and go, do you have a proofreader? Do you have an editor? Let's get this going.
Absolutely.
So, good to hear that. So we're now going to cross over to the UK to check in with a few of our Charity Challenge heroes. So let's start with Gretchen Betts, who has been working through a 24-hour extreme crafting challenge and doing some very cool things along the way. Gretchen?
Hello again. Hi. I was just trying to tweet some progress because I think I'm about 3 projects behind on my tweets now. Yeah, so before in the last show I was showing you my worry pets, and the idea being that I remember my sister having these like worry dolls when we were little, which, you know, you can put under your pillow to, I guess, get rid of some of that anxiety. And one of our key messages throughout the commute has been about well-being, and this is really how this all stemmed, was my crafting is kind of my center for my well-being. So my fingers have been all sorts of stuck together with this glue gun in the last half hour. So I've now finished with the glue gun. They've all got eyes. Some of them I did special, you know, 3 eyes, just because you've got to do it when you've got googly eyes going on. This one's one of my very favorite. One big eye, excellent. So, you know, for a 4-year-old, he's going to love those. I'm super excited. So next I'm going to make the home for them. I'm going to try, and this was like a chocolate box that I got sent some stuff in, and I'm going to I'm going to wrap this so that it doesn't have a cat on it and things like that, so that they can all sit in there as their little worry pets home. So that's the next bit. So thanks everyone. I'm really appreciating everyone really getting on board with it, because sometimes I think like I'm just completely mad.
No, honestly, I think it's fantastic. You've got me like over the last few episodes. I'm like, I think I need to do something creative this afternoon and paint or do something. I don't know what it is, but it's so fun to see, you know, all you financial planners in the UK sort of tapping into the other side, your hobbies and your passions, and doing it, coming together to raise money for CF Warriors and the Stroke Association in the UK. It's awesome. Gretchen, we'll check back in with you in the next show.
Yeah, and go Jess, I'm really proud of you.
Yes, let's hop over to Jessica Gear, who recently started her ascent of Britain's highest mountain, Ben Nevis, on her stairs. Jess, how's it going?
There we go. Hi. Yeah, it's a lot harder than I remember. I'm already dripping in sweat. It's boiling hot here. We've got a massive window that goes straight onto our stairs as well, so it's pretty warm, but I'm 100 steps done now. So on my 587, I'm 100 there. So it's going well.
That's amazing. So feeling good though? It's still
positive. So
that's awesome. Good. Well, keep it going. You're doing fantastic. I've got stairs here, so once we break for this show, I might run up and down a few just to get some blood flowing. So you're inspiring me as well. Thanks, Jess.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
And let's see if Steve has gotten to the semi-pass out stage yet. We might. Still doing all right?
Not quite. Yeah, still doing all right. I've been doing a little bit of tweeting on my progress. I can't share my video with you, but I am clothed, so it would be allowable. And yeah, some of my friends that can actually cycle have been giving me tips. So I've been told to put some cream on my ass and stop whinging about it. I've been told to eat more. So I'm now eating Trek bars. Josh has delivered the standard amount of abuse about how utterly incompetent and half-man I am by comparison to him, and reminded me that the last time I nearly passed out doing something with him, a sugary coffee sorted me out. So I've had that as well. So that seems to be helping. I've got some actual cycling shorts on now. So I think by the time we get to the end of this, I'll probably be sat on a cushion to try and counteract the various chafing related issues. But other than that, we're still going. My youngest son is very keen to go in the swimming pool when I'm finished. He's utterly unimpressed at my current speed and rate of progress, and the fact that it'll be a good couple of hours before I'm done. So considering he's the one with CF, he's not quite giving me the support I was hoping for. But I guess that's how the tough love rolls in our house. So yeah, I've got some encouragement from him to hurry up so that we can go swimming. Yeah, I'm all right. Still here. Plenty of aspirations to not be here. Frankly, rather be pretty much anywhere else in the world. I mean, you guys are all lovely and stuff, but novelty's kind of wearing off now, to be honest. So what are we on? We're on t-shirt 4, shorts 3, 3 bottles of electrolyte and sugary drinks consumed, 1 Trek bar, 1 sugary coffee, 2 Tri-Club spin sessions, 1 Fatboy Slim Sydney concert, and yeah, still here. Still doing nothing.
There's a lot of
Still
love for you coming from the team, so it's impressive to see you keep going. How far into your cycling challenge are you, and how much further do you have to go?
So I'm 76 miles in, which means I have 46 left, so almost exactly 2/3. For those of you guys that were following my fitness tips, certainly for anyone who was interested in it from a leaning down point of view, what bike tells me I've burned 2,800 calories so far. My Whoop reckons it's about 3,500, but we'll settle for 2,800. So if anybody's wanting a new fitness tip, sit on your bike for the best part of 5.5 hours, and you will burn probably somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 calories. You'll need to burn those calories because you won't be able to walk for the next 4 days. So that will remove all the exercise that you would otherwise have. But yeah, still here. And just for a serious point, just for a second, because it's not really my style, but the magic with these things, and watching James suffer this morning, and Jessica's making it look too easy at the moment, but I suspect as the day goes on, it'll get harder. You know, we're raising money for people in organisations where you don't have the choice to quit. You just got to keep going, whether you like it or not. So it's good that we're all suffering. It gives us a tiny bit of the experience of the people we're raising money for. So suffering is good, and donating to charity is better. So I am not doing this for fun, I can assure you. I am not doing this because I've got nothing better to do. I'm doing it so all of you wonderful listeners separate yourself from some of your money for all these great charities that all these people are doing really stupid things for. So dig deep, people. This is not for fun. There you go, soapbox over.
No, and absolutely. Totally echo that. Please dig deep. The links to donate to the various charities are in the chat box. And again, if you're in another country or you've got a great cause that you'd like to donate to, please dig deep in this time. As Steve said, a lot of people doing great charity challenges, not doing it for fun, but doing it really for a great cause.
No fun.
And No fun. And if there's
Nope.
any community out there that really can come together around this during this time, I absolutely know that it's the global financial planning community. So thank you to all of the charity challengers, to those that have supported the various organizations so far and those yet to come. So Tom, I'll throw it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Keep going, everybody. You're smashing it. Our next show is at 6:30 UK time, so in around 20 minutes time, and we'll be chatting with Desata Yanwe, who launched his own financial planning practice at age 24, is an author and founder of the Young Money podcast, and Catherine Morgan is back with another marketing focus.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Great co-hosting with you and great interview with Carolyn. And Catherine will be co-hosting with me for the next show. So that's coming up in 20 minutes. So we will see you then. Bye for now.